The Florida Gators put on a show over the last week, landing 7 new commitments and marching up the recruiting rankings. The Gators currently hold the number 2 ranked class in the On3 industry rankings. Let's bring on Gators Online publisher Corey Bender. Corey, what do you credit this recent burst in recruiting for UF? What kind of set all this in motion?
I would think right now, I just think it's the timing of these visits, because I think in week one, in the first week of June, you see a lot of schools load up with visitors, and I get it. You want to come out the gate, you want to make a strong first impression and kind of set the bar. But at the same time, you don't often see kids commit, during that first week of official visit, especially when you're dealing with schools like Florida, LSU. I mean, a lot of these high major kids treat like a business decision. So a lot of these kids want to compare the schools, the pros and cons, and then after that, maybe at the end of June, make a decision. So with a lot of these kids that went to Florida, like Amir Jackson, we put in a pick for him about 2 weeks ago. We were leaning towards Florida when he got there. I think for his instance, I think it was just the timing. He wanted to go there, just make sure it was the right decision. But I also think, too, you see that, and you see other kids making the decision, too. Like on Saturday, a lot of these kids that committed was actually at Spurrier's restaurant. It was actually in front of all the parents, the coaching staff. It was kind of like a little mini party. So a few kids stood up on the stage with their microphone, and it was just a big moment. And you saw other kids starting to recruit other kids that are leaning towards Florida. So I just think right now, Florida, the one thing you hear from a lot of people is the word genuine. You hear home-like feel. A lot of the staff does a great job of really kind of bring you in as like a second family. I think everyone knows the results of the field is going to be a work in progress for Florida, but the one thing they do a good job of is kind of, having that family away from the football field, and that's really resonated with a lot of top kids.
Yeah, you hit on it, man. It was a big Saturday, but kind of the icing on the cake came on Monday evening when 4-star Jamonto Wall, the linebacker out of Mississippi, announced his commitment to the Gators. Now, when he left campus, there was a buzz going around, but it kept getting louder and louder as the hours went on. Corey, what do you think sealed the deal on his trip to Gainesville?
And yeah, just to go off what you said too, he wasn't planning on making a decision. He was a kid that wanted to kind of do it later in the summer, take some more visits, but it was kind of they always say visit high, but I think it was all that the other kids announcing and a lot, just kind of being in that moment, just seeing the family come together, 4 kids in one day, or 3 kids, not counting him, and just kind of seeing the celebration. The one thing he did mention was Florida treated him like he was the biggest priority on the board defensively. I mean, other schools, you had Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, a lot of schools in the mix for him. But Florida really went out of their way, really rolled out the red carpet and kind of expressed to him, their history with the edge position. They've had a lot of big-time players that have kind of played that role in Gainesville, and they're kind of lacking the depth at that position as well. So when you look at Waller's stats, there's not many kids that have a better stat line with him. Overall, the course of his junior year, I think the biggest thing for him is what role is he going to play in Gainesville? Is it more of a traditional linebacker? Is he going to be more of a jack, which is the edge position at Florida? So I think overall the mixture, the on-field fit, and obviously feeling like a major priority and having that home-like feel, and that was kind of rubbed off on his parents as well. So I think when they got there, they saw kind of like a home away from home, a second family. And, they went home, thought about it. And I think it was at 4 a.m. is when he said he woke up and he said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. So Florida knocked it out of the park with him and sealed the deal.
They absolutely did. And Jamonto Waller's commitment boosted UF into that number 2 spot. And one of the more impressive things about the commit list when you look at it is the needs that have been filled. You got DJ Lagway at quarterback. They've done a great job of landing linebackers. They started to fill the needs of the defensive line. So moving forward, now that Florida is in the number 2 spot, what do you think is the most important need that still needs to be filled by the UF staff?
Yeah, I mean, just last week, I would have said offensive line. They really needed some kind of high-profile names in the trench, especially when you have a big quarterback like DJ Lagway coming. But they got there. They got 3 commitments. I still think they could use another high-profile name, maybe an on-3 or a top 100 guy. But right now, I think as the board looks, I think it's cornerback. I think at safety, you got Xavier Filsaime, you got Josiah Davis. You're doing good at safety, but I think cornerback, obviously with Corey Raymond, you don't have a cornerback committed right now. But thankfully for them, they're in the mix for a lot of guys. I mean, Jamari Howard is arguably at the top of the board. He was supposed to officially visit this summer, kind of had some mix-up with his plans. So, obviously, he's at the top of the board. You obviously have Teddy Foster, who's an emerging kid out of Sarasota. Then I think 2 other names have mentioned, obviously, Zay Mincy, who is over here in Daytona Beach, and Jameer Grimsley at Tampa Catholic. So, All four of those guys are in-state targets. They're all blue chippers other than Foster, but he's a guy who could rise in the rankings. So I think sooner than later they'll fill that need. And once they do, I think it'll be one of their top targets. And as I always tell Florida fans, that Corey Raymond effect is definitely very present in this cycle. A lot of kids are raving about the opportunity to play for him.
Yeah, give him time, let him cook. He'll get his guys. The Gators are on the hunt still, though, and they are targeting a couple flip targets, mainly TJ Abrams at Florida State, wide receiver, and Miami wide receiver commitment Chance Robinson. They've hosted both on visits this summer. Which do you think right now UF stands in a better shot to land? Or, hey, do you think they get both?
It's a good question, man. So both of these guys are visiting the school they're committed to this weekend. So Abrams is taking his OV to FSU, and Robinson's going to Coral Gables for his OV. And I kind of told people that over the weekend. People thought Abrams might flip. I said, I don't think so with the FSU visit. If you're committed to a school, you probably want to hear out what they have to say as well. I would say right now, I would say slightly Robinson just because that relationship has been stronger over the past year. He got offered in the early part of this year. Billy Gonzalez, David Doker, Billy Napier. He has relationships with the whole staff, and he really loves it at Florida. There's part of me thought he might flip when he took his OV in June, but he's still kind of going through the process. I think his recruitment's a little bit more open than Abrams right now. Mm-hmm. However, Abrams did tell us if he was to flip to another school, this is about a few weeks ago, it would definitely be Florida. So right there, it's like, Florida's kind of like that number 2 school for him. It's just, I think it's going to be all about this weekend and what the Seminoles have to show him. But I think his overall interest and consistency, I think Florida's in a better spot with Chance Robinson. I think they've kind of made up more ground with him than Abrams over the past few weeks.
All right. Well, 4th of July is right around the corner, and I know you and I, as recruiting writers, we like to kind of take some time off on the holiday, but recruits see it much differently. We know that they like to announce around that time. So what recruits are you tracking that UF fans should keep on their radar?
Yeah, I think overall there's a good amount of guys. I think, Fletcher Westfall's one of them. He's a 6'8" offensive tackle, priority guy. I would say Florida's probably in the top 3 for him, so that's an important one. You got Kendall Jackson, a local product out of Buchholz, who's an edge target, a 4-star kid. It's down to them in Kentucky. Florida's been trending for a while, so that's a kid Florida fans definitely want to monitor. And 3 others are Ty Hilton out of Oviedo, offensive tackle. Justin Denson, who's a emerging guy out of Rhode Island. I think probably Florida and Alabama are in the best spot for him, Oklahoma. And 2 other ones I will mention, Josh. I know you said July, but they're at the very end of June. Ethan Callaway's on June 30th, and Jerry Hawkins is late June as well. So I think right now, like, Florida fans are at the edge of their seats. They're happy. It's been an amazing run, but I don't think we're done yet. I think overall, you have Friday Night Lights this weekend, and then July 29th, they have a recruiting barbecue. So I think right now it's just about keeping the guys intact. I think you have to be overly pleased with what you've been doing, but now it's the same thing I kind of said with Kelby Collins last cycle, because Alabama was always a threat. Now you got to recruit some of these guys like they're not committed. Keep your foot on the gas pedal, keep, wine and dining, whatever you have to do to keep them on board. And, just do your, I think it's, like as we mentioned at the top of the call, I think a lot of it's going to be momentum and how the season plays out. That's where we're really going to see how strong these commitments really are.
Well, you said what fans want to hear, and that is not done yet. That's awesome, Corey. Thank you for stopping by the Inside Scoop, talking about the hottest team on the recruiting trail right now, the Florida Gators. Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me, and remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.